Right. So, well, back at one Senate Education. 873. Act relating to financing and testing for and remediation of PCBs in schools. Senators may recall there was some back and forth around the possibility of putting this in the budget next by the Pro Tem's office. So
Wait, sorry, I missed that. Sorry.
this is not going to be in, we talked about all of us putting it in the budget to align this language for some reason that was next budget for our office. Nothing but rather, I think, them wanting to travel on its own. So with that, we're trying to align everything here. Mr. Brady, if you don't mind taking us through the copy that we have.
So this is Michael Grady with Legislative Council. It looks like you all have the document that I'll be reviewing in front of you. It's also on your committee web page, just a refresher recollection in H883% proposal of amendment to the big bill. There was an amendment to Acts and Resolves number 78 from last year. And what the amendment did is it amended what costs were available for grants and for reimbursement for PCBs response. And specifically, it enhanced or expanded what was eligible from what was previously eligible, which was investigation, remediation, or removal, and would now be under the Senate proposal of amendment, investigation, environmental assessment, planning, management, remediation, or removal. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because the language in 873 is tied to Act 78 from last year. So if you are going to go forward with 873 and the expressions of intent and the requirements under it, you need to be consistent with what is in Act 78 and what is available for grants or under the grants for PCB response. As the chair just told you, it probably could have been done in the big bill where you saw everything aligned and matched up with each other, but it's not doing that. And so what you are doing in 873 is wherever it says currently investigation, remediation, or removal, you are using the same terminology from the Senate proposal of amendment to the big bill. It will say investigation, remediation, environmental assessment, planning, management, or removal. And again, environmental assessment, planning, management, those are the three new activities that would be eligible if the appropriations bill is passed as proposed. That's another thing you have to keep in mind. You're going to have to follow 883 to make sure that it does pass this way. Otherwise, you're going to have 873 out of whack with 883. So that's why I thought it might work in the big bill, but I understand the concerns.
Yeah, I was probably too flip in my converse, explaining it really, again, with the pro tem, quick conversation last week, really thought it important that this travel on its own. For sure. But I understood, it wasn't simply just a pay no way, just because science budget.
There are some consequences, which I believe I started discussing with you previously, that this will create some inequity between the schools that were already funded with grants and schools that will be funded with grants in the future that will now have the expanded eligible activities. The agency, I talked to the agency says that regardless, under their due diligence, that they have to do cost review. They have to look at every requested cost to see if it is actually related to PCB response. And with that due diligence, there will be some extra costs that are reimbursed, but not that much as to create significant inequity. And then the other consideration is that this bill would pause PCB testing if the money available from the grants drops below $4 million. The A&R did say, yes, this will cause that money to decrease faster.
Right.
So you will be in a situation sooner than you may have expected, where you're gonna have to revisit the amount of money at AOE for these grants. If you're gonna continue with the intent to fund all school remediation, investigation.
And I think some of the inequity questions and comments, we have to move this today. As I just heard, we are on track again for adjourning. This will go to this will go to probes. They can look at that equity issue and they may adjust it financially, or they may not. Yes,
So what is the mechanism to make sure that somebody's keeping an eye on this? So that.
Well,
we stay in line?
there's a report in 873, which you can find.
But they're almost at that, A&R is almost at
Right,
that.
so what happens is if they drop below the 4, then the testing stops, but you have the ability to transfer 2 million. The emergency board, I should say, has the ability to transfer 2 million into that fund. So you're out of session, they drop below 4, the emergency board can put 2 million back in that fund. And so they can continue to test then, and then you're gonna have to come back. Budget adjustment potentially, and look at how much money is necessary to finish investigation remediation. So you have a bridge of, if it doesn't drop below 4, you're fine. If it drops below 4, you have that $2 million bridge to get you back to the session.
the emergency board can't put more in.
It's what is authorized
It's
in
what's
873, the specific $2 million.
And Senator Lynch, do you know, are you familiar with the emergency board? So it,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How-
But I heard it last night at a school board meeting that,
Oh, you did,
yeah,
okay,
you know, cause PCB testing and costs got
yeah,
mentioned, and they're concerned that the school districts are gonna have to pay for it. They can't get their budgets back, so just wanted to make sure there's a mechanism there that we can keep doing this. Because remember they came to us and asked us, allowed us not to keep doing the testing.
Well, to that point, to those 2 points, first page of 873 says the state is gonna pay for the cost of testing, for the cost of third-party testing. And then it says that it's the intent of the General Assembly that the state is going to pay for the cost of investigation, remediation, environmental assessment, planning, management, or removal of PCBs at any school. I've tested over the levels because of the testing requirement. It is an intent requirement because you can't bind the future General Assembly, but there is at least that expression for your constituents and whom else that there likely will be payment for those costs.
And will that be education funding, the education funds?
So one of the things that's in 873, that when the money is low and you need to come up with a plan for funding, they're supposed to recommend the source of the necessary funds, provided that the secretary shall first consider all other sources of funding before recommending the education fund as a source of the
Cause
necessary.
that was an issue
yeah,
last time.
and we know that the
Because-
16 million from Burlington came from the ed fund.
That brings up the school
Okay,
education tax rate, that's what caused them
Yeah.
a bunch of problems. So.
Senator Gillen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to support this because it's late in the game and seems like a thing that we need, but I'm a little concerned that where is the money coming from? I know A&R says they're going to pay, but it doesn't make me feel confident that there's like a dedicated pot of money to pay for what could potentially be coming.
So one of the things that ANR testified about in the House Ed Committee is that they can draw funds from the entire environmental contingency fund as well. And there's one or two other funds as well. And they also now have the authority to pass money from the waste management assistance fund to the environmental contingency fund. As long as they do a couple of things, most notably, they have to give the municipal solid waste entities a little bit of acreage before they can transfer the money from the waste management assistance fund to the contingency fund. So there's potential there. There is, the environmental contingency fund is always under some pressure, but they will have that as a other source.
Great, and I have a follow-up.
Yeah, can I ask that quicker? Do we know how much is the environmental contingency?
I don't know right
Okay.
off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
Senator Gillett?
My other follow-up question was, and I'm sorry if I've missed this, I'm sure I have, but the question is, all of the schools that have already been tested, who were not tested under this definition that now includes environmental assessment, planning and management, can they retroactively ask for
That's gonna be
money?
That's gonna be a condition of their grant. The language right now doesn't say that. So what will be there is any language in their grant that allows them to request additional reimbursement. And I don't know what that language says. So it's possible, but I would expect the way that the agency says that they're going to scrutinize costs or due diligence, that is probably not gonna be a
Thank you.
Okay. So if senators are comfortable, then I guess we welcome a motion to pass draft 1.1 of page 873. So move.
And that move would be the first.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Senator Hewitt's gonna do it on the floor. She probably has a couple of days since, well, it won't be tomorrow. It'll be on
Thursday?
Yeah.
Can we,
It's gonna be close.
Oh,
Yeah,
can we just pause for one
Yes,
second? I wanna make
absolutely.
sure I have no more
absolutely. Yeah.
conversation in me on this bill before we vote on it.
And Senator Hewitt, if it makes you feel any better in
Mhm.
terms of additional conversation you might have on it, that conversation could also be done. Sure. Work with the probes and, or if you have a floor. Senator Weeks, well, Senator Hewitt is.
While Senator Gillett's evaluating the bill, I'd just like to say that it's really unfortunate that we don't fully fund this effort. I sense that we might get 90% into it, if we dry up the contingency funds and what have you, and may leave a couple of schools, out in limbo. So, while I support the bill, because I think we need to move this ball further down the field, I think I'm very uncomfortable with the fact that we're not just fully funded with what we know now.
Senator Hewitt.
No, I would just say that given that the two most repeated words in the State House right now are cost containment, I fully support containing any costs that we can. Thank you. Ready to vote?
Okay, Senator Williams.
Senator Gillett,
Yes.
Senator Sheen,
Yes.
Senator Weed,
Yes.
Senator Williams, yes, Senator Canfield.
Yes.
5-0.
So, Senator Hewitt, do you mind? We take 5 minutes, bringing that up right now, and we'll have you come back and we'll do literacy.
That's
So,
great.
so can I
Yeah,
go
please.
remove all the highlighting from it?
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't want to get yelled at by